Hey everyone, it's the guy who learns languages, gets no bitches, and stacks no paper. I want to talk about some Made in Abyss theories, as it's one of my favorite pastimes with people who enjoy the series. So, I decided to go into the depths of the Made in Abyss official subreddit to ask the swarm of redditors to share with me their favorite theories. Now before I start, there will be spoilers up until chapter 63.2 of the manga. If you are caught up on the anime but not with the manga, I recommend you start from chapter 61 and read until 63.2, since it's only a few chapters after the season ends and contains a lot of valuable information and lore. So, with that being said, let's get started with user Apprehensive Cry 347. Reg is going to be a villain, if not the final boss. He just doesn't know it yet, or rather he doesn't remember. Reg is one of the only characters to wear purple along with Bonjud and Wazukyan. Both are villains, and we know that in Japanese culture, purple is bad. There's also the fact that he is armed with weapons capable of destroying reality itself, or that he's been sent by Liza, also known as the Annihilator. If that doesn't sound like a villain name, I don't know what does. Also, when he said he got some of his memory back, he became Dark Reg, and before he lost said memories, he agreed to help Fapta commit genocide. So, I actually like this theory a lot. It is a Reg theory that I haven't seen in a pretty long time. There are a few problems that I have with it, however. For one, the purple equals bad guy isn't actually exclusive to Japanese culture, it's in lots of medias. Take Disney for example, purple is pretty much always the color of villainy. That being said, there are already a lot of characters that wear purple who are wonderful people. These include all of the subterranean bandits minus Ozen, many of the Irupuru villagers, and most importantly, Gabrun, who was probably one of the nicest and most helpful beings in the series as of right now. However, it is very suspicious how he's armed with an essence returning light. My only defense for this is that he can traverse the layers with ease, especially ascending in a third layer when he could bypass all the tunnels and just free climb, blasting away the Madoka Jacks and the Crimson Splitjaws. A thing that I flat out disagree with though is Liza being a villain. She is beloved throughout Orth by very good people such as Habo and Jiro. We know that neither Habo nor Ozen see Mr. Dawn as a good person, and would likely not be celebrating him as Habo was with Liza's Russell return. This makes me believe even further that Liza is loved way more than someone like Bonjud, or even Surajo or Wakuna. Now, Reg agreeing to commit genocide for Fapta is a bit of a red flag that we might learn about later on, we might also not. It could be because he knew of the dubious nature of Wazekyan, or he could have just had a crush on his moth wife. Overall, good theory. I have a few issues, 5.5 out of 10. The next theory comes from user Ragnar Zeptek. This is a half-baked idea about the 2000-year cycle, technology, and the birthday death disease. On the surface, technology has advanced to the point of electricity, airships, and most likely radio communications. Side note on radio, while the comms device Nanachi uses cannot be used outside of the Abyss, I'd wager that is only because of the force field being used as the power source. Hence why Nanachi couldn't reach Reg from within Irupuru. Her communicator was out of juice due to the force field not being present in the village. At this level of technological development, I wonder why there's no industrial, large-scale exploration of the Abyss. Needless to say, such an endeavor would ultimately destroy it. We also know that about every 2,000 years, something cataclysmic happens in the Abyss, and that we are nearing the end of the cycle. I believe that this is tied to the technological development of the world, and when it is about to threaten the Abyss, a reset happens. Considering that time moves differently in the Abyss, this is probably also the method of the reset. The Abyss simply travels back in time. How is this related to the birthday death diseases? Let's say the process that initiates the reset happens and the Abyss starts to uncouple from time, ready to go back 2,000 years. Orth sits right at the edge between the Abyss and the rest of the world. Bad things happen to those who aren't rooted firmly in either place, and birthdays are when people are most focused on their own timeline. Note how Kyuyi almost instantly recovers simply by removing him from Orth. I bet he would have also gotten better by going down a few layers. I haven't quite figured out how to deal with the White Whistles in this scenario, or the intentions of the Cave Raiders Guild for that matter. They clearly are aware of the cycle though, and possess knowledge passed only amongst themselves. Are they trying to delay the reset, break the cycle, or realize the inevitable and go on the last dive? Likewise, I don't know exactly how the reset is triggered. Is it the Abyss itself as a living entity protecting itself? Is it an artifact invoked by someone? There are too many unknowns. I eagerly await Chapter 64 and hope there's more information about the Shrine Maiden. I think it could clarify a lot of things. And this is another theory that I'm a big fan of, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And first off, the idea that the force field being used as a power source is a really smart way to think about it, and I do think it does provide some power, but definitely not too much, since Edofront is still primarily powered by the Whirlpool, and it's just pretty rudimentary in terms of technology. Not to say that Edofront can't use both, or he just prefers to only use hydroelectric power. That's just my speculation. And my guess to why there's no large-scale industrial exploration tool is because it might be seen as disrespectful to the Abyss itself. Many people treat the Abyss and its powers like a deity, so possibly people seeing these sorts of creations could be considered heresy. I am really impressed by the idea of the Abyss resetting in tandem with technology, and I am really impressed with the idea of the Abyss resetting in tandem with technology advancing, and with the reset affecting those who aren't cemented in one area or are cemented in a gray area. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not entirely sure what you mean when you say birthdays are when people focus most on their timeline and its connection to the cycle resetting. But according to Nishigura, time moves faster when the Rico gang is with them, implying that the idea of time having sentience is in the realm of possibility. That's just my interpretation. Please let me know what you really meant here. I'm really curious. I really like this theory a lot. As for the White Whistles, I'm also at a loss. They all really like talking about it and are very prepared for it, but there's absolutely nothing to go off of besides that. And as these topics are only passed between White Whistles and by word of mouth, chances are Sraja will end up telling us or giving her fellow White Whistle valuable information that we haven't heard yet, similar to what happened with Ozen in the Secret Camp arc. And I do agree that the Shrine Maiden could also help us understand a lot of the unexplained world building and meaning of the cycle. Again, I'm really excited to see what's up with this Shrine Maiden person. I give this theory 8.5 out of 10, big fan. So I'm gonna throw my own hat into the ring here and talk about Wakana, since I haven't seen much talk of what kind of person he is at all, and all we really know right now is that he's an old man who invaded the 6th layer, bypassing the forward operating base. So what can we really talk about besides just random speculation and shots in the dark? So here's my theory on Wakana the Chosen. Something people don't really pay much attention to is the names of the White Whistles and how accurate they are. Bondrewd made incredible advancements in science and understanding of the Abyss, making him a novel person. His goal to progress science to the next stage, or in other words, the New Dawn, is what makes him the Sovereign of Dawn. Another example is, we don't really know much about Sraja yet because we just met her, but we do know that she lives in obscurity, leaving the 5th layer without saying anything, according to Bondrewd. She also seems to know a lot of mysterious things, and her team members speak in a very vague and mysterious way. Sovereign of Mystery, Obscurity, you get it. So Wakana the Chosen, Sovereign of Guidance, is a name that almost sounds biblical in nature. Typically being the Chosen refers to a god or a higher being putting their faith and power into one person, making them a harbinger of some sorts. Wakana likely has some inside leaks onto what's going to happen within the Abyss, likely connected to the 2,000-year cycle. His duty is to guide the people into the next 2,000 years. Another thing that also helps this theory is that he has long, flowing, Jesus-like hair, and I'm not saying that having long hair makes you Jesus. I mean, even I have long hair, but doesn't it though? Just a little bit, at least. It doesn't help the case against my theory, is what I'm trying to say. Another thing is that this might be copium, but I feel like having a godlike priest figure in the story would add to its like horror-esque vibe and be really, really interesting and cool. Finally, I want to share a theory that I've been a big advocate for a long time, and user Witch of Yarn explains it wonderfully. The Star Compass isn't actually a MacGuffin. It's going to be the Chekhov's gun that saves and or gets Rico out of the Abyss. Since the effects going back up mostly mirror the adverse effects associated with diving, the Delver's adventures into the Abyss are even called dives. One of the causes of death of deep water diving involves divers losing their sense of direction. They can no longer tell which way is up and cannot return to the surface before running out of air. And what could be better to help that than a compass which always points up or down no matter which way you turn it? For a long time, people assumed that the star compass was a way to connect Riko and Veiko in an easy-to-digest way, then also show Riko's rebellious side as she illegally held onto the relic instead of turning it into Orth, only to show her incredibly immature and terrible motor function side as she lost it shortly after. Sakushi said that this relic is going to be very important sometime in the future, and there are two very interesting aspects about it that I think they're going to expand on at some point. The first very obvious one is that the compass design is 100% in the Cradle Agreed. People argue this and say it kind of looks like this, it might be this, we don't know, but a coincidence like that cannot exist. I refuse to believe that. The Cradle of Greed contains the star compass, and we're going to learn more about this relic later on. The other interesting aspect is that user L. Burkus notes the shape of the compass is essentially a map of the abyss. Now, this is definitely a bit of a stretch, but it's definitely really interesting still. To get on to what Witch of Yarn's theory is, it actually makes a lot of sense. The wording and use of certain words have proven to be very important in this series so far, one of the prime examples being the fact that Reg, Liza, and Ozen all say irredeemable. There's also the words value and goals, which have been very important in the past, and goals especially being very important in this upcoming arc. So it would make a lot of sense that the term dive is used the way it is. They mentioned deep water divers losing their sense of direction. Another thing that should be mentioned is decompression sickness. Now let me explain like this is a biochem course. Decompression sickness is caused by ascending too fast from a deep water dive, causing the built-up nitrogen gas to not get destroyed easily due to the pressure lowering as you rise. This leads to bubbles forming in your body that can do a lot of damage. Some common symptoms can be anything from nausea to fatigue, clouded headspace, vertigo, rash, tissue damage, numbness, loss of balance, paralysis, and even death. Wait, there's probably no connection though. There's probably no connection, surely. Actually, a really great way to limit these effects and avoid getting sick is by tracking your position using a compass. Well, surely not. I like this theory a lot. I've never thought of something like this way. So, 9.5 out of 10. Hey, thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun going through what the community thinks is going to happen. Hopefully the new chapter drops tomorrow on New Year's Eve to prove at least a couple of us wrong in some way or another. When the new chapter comes out, I definitely will make a video going over it and some of the hidden gems I find, so that's something to look forward to. And if you got your own theories, please feel free to post them in the comments. I'll read them, I'll reply. Make sure you like the video and subscribe please too, that'd be very nice. Thanks, see ya.